Hi everyone, welcome back to today's Love Transformation class. And I'm joined today by the very beautiful Camille Thurnherr. If you're not familiar with Camille, she is one of Australia's most renowned leading dating coaches with hundreds of success stories of helping people find their dream relationship. And we know that this is just such an interesting, challenging, unprecedented time as far as dating goes. And I'm so thrilled that Camille's going to be able to share her hottest tips about how to really, really maximize this opportunity and some things that are really going to give you confidence to be able to date and get some great outcomes and really enjoy it as well. Welcome, Camille.
Thanks so much for having me. It's so great to be here.
Before we dive into our topic today, can you share for all of the women who aren't familiar with you, perhaps outside of Australia, what it is about the way that you support women and coach women and mentor women that's been so successful over all of these years?
Love it. So there are a few different reasons, but one I believe has been a very key one is that I combine the practical steps, the dating strategy and the strategy itself, which is probably about 20% of my approach, with the mindset and the embodiment approach. So a big part of what I do is I help women in how to access different aspects of their femininity and how to really embody it and how to be really grounded in it. Because I feel like even only focusing on mindset and strategy is not enough. So the embodiment part, I feel like is something that I'm really great at, and the combination of all those three aspects is really what I feel like has helped so many of my clients in having that happy outcome.
Now, we are in these unprecedented times when things are changing and we're going to have to do things differently. And we're also sort of all going through our own little personal journey in terms of processing emotions and getting our mindset right. And I know that you have some very real and very important advice for women right now.
I believe that at the moment is a great time for us to really reevaluate what's truly important, and especially for the single women listening, if having a great relationship is important to you, this is the time to just totally commit and go all in. Time is of the essence. I mean, things are really they're super challenging with what's happening at the moment. So it's a great reminder that now is the time to prioritize our most meaningful goals. So mindset tip number one is use this time to really go all in, or cross it off the list. If it's not important, then there's no need to be part of this summit or listen to any of the interviews. So go either all in and make it your priority, or cross it off.
I mean, deep down, we all want to be loved. We all want to experience love. We all desire to have a soulmate connection with somebody. But why do you think it is that so many women haven't really prioritized being intentional and putting in the effort to call in a partner and create that relationship?
Great question. I feel like there are a few different reasons, but I'll share a couple. So the first one that comes to mind is most driven, successful women have this story, including that I had the same thing myself. This should just be happening naturally. Prince Charming should have arrived by now on his horse, and how dare he hasn't. So it's nearly like a bit of a counterintuitive thing around, oh, well, maybe I need to do some more inner work. Maybe I need to do some personal development. So there's a bit of resistance there around, well, I shouldn't have to do this. It should have just happened. I think that's the first one. The second one would be when we do really want something and it doesn't happen. Maybe a guy has really broken our heart, or maybe it's been harder to meet potential great guys, then it is easier to put it into the too hard basket. And as driven, successful women, we do have great lives. We have great careers, great friendships. We travel, or used to travel at least. So it is tempting to put it into the too hard basket and disconnect and then pretend, well, actually, it's not really that important. Like I hear that a lot from the women I talk to who are curious about my programs. Maybe it's not really that important. So there is a bit of a disconnect with that.
I know that you are very passionate about reminding women that it's never too late. Can you just share a couple of those success stories just to kind of inspire those women that maybe haven't dated for a long time or thinking it's maybe not going to happen for me?
Absolutely. I mean, the first one that comes to mind, and we both have actually done some coaching with this amazing woman. She came to me when she was in her it was either late 40s or even early 50s, and she'd never had a long-term relationship ever. And after doing some coaching, and it didn't happen overnight, but she's now in a great relationship, and she never thought it would be possible for her. So it's definitely never too late. Another one of my success stories, who lives in Cairns, she got married in her early 50s. She was never married before, had a lot of short-term relationships, but never really had a really solid long-term relationship. And again, she didn't think it was possible for her, but had the most amazing wedding, has met the most committed, most generous and amazing guy. So it's never too late.
I think we all need to be reminded of that sometimes, especially when we're at home and maybe feeling a little bit alone or very used to our own company, perhaps. Can you share with us what the other mindset tips are?
So mindset number 2 is embrace the new, and really use this opportunity to your advantage. And I wanted to share a short story or an example. One of my current clients, when we first started coaching, she said, look, I definitely don't want to do online dating. It's definitely something I will never consider again. I've tried it before, didn't work for me. And I'm always open to, because my work is 80% on the embodiment and the mindset area, I can work with that. So, however, at the moment, she's in an area where, with everything, with what's going on at the moment, but there aren't many opportunities now to meet men in person, especially where she lives. And she has really embraced the online world, and with my guidance and with video dates, and I'll talk about that a little bit more. And she's having an absolute ball and is really, really enjoying it. And she even said to me, I would have never explored this if I wasn't forced to. So mindset tip number 2 is embrace the new and make it work for you.
Love it. These different times are really calling us to be open to trying and doing things differently. It's such a good tip. Number 3.
Number 3 is around there's a new opportunity, I feel, at the moment. More and more people are gravitating towards long-term relationships, even the women who've been sitting on the fence, and especially the men as well, who have maybe played the field a little bit. And one of my very good friends comes to mind, and I had a chat with him the other day, and he said, Camille, I think I'm really ready for a relationship now. And I've known him for about 8 years, and he's never said that to me before. And he's like, look, how can I meet women online? Again, he never really thought he wanted to do online dating. So more quality, like more potential partners are now going to be online in this time as well. So again, the time is right to jump in and embrace this challenging time.
Completely. And I'll just share a meme, or it might have even been a tweet that I saw floating around recently that I had a bit of a chuckle, and it was to the effect of, here's to all the men who already decided to step up and commit, because they're the only ones that are getting laid at the moment. So that is paying off. So, and I guess it does really make you sort of stop and consider what collectively I think is going through the consciousness of all of the single males who have essentially had this kind of smorgasbord of this sort of fast food, fast dating, fast sex situation, which is changing, right?
Totally.
Yeah, yeah. So are we ready to get into some of the practical stuff? Because this is where some of our ladies who maybe aren't that experienced using online, or have used it, it hasn't really worked that successfully for them. And you've got some really, really fabulous tips about how to use this and make this work for you.
So the main thing I want to talk about is how to use the online dating in terms to doing like a video call, like what we're doing right now. So for the women who are online already, of course, you know how to interact with potential partners. And for anyone who hasn't been online, I guess there's lots of information out there around like how to use the dating sites. But as far as when you're once you're online and chatting with someone, the best thing is to pre-qualify them before you do agree to get on a video call. So the video call can be using Zoom. What we're doing right now is one of the options. WhatsApp can be really great. The only thing is, I guess, if you want to not share too much of your personal information or phone numbers, Zoom would be the perfect way to start. So how I would pre-qualify someone would be just to ask them some questions around, you know, what are you, how are you finding online dating? What are you actually looking for? Like really quite direct questions around, are you looking, what are you looking for at the moment? And if someone is saying, look, I just want to have a bit of fun, and you know, then you're not going to agree to get online and have a video call. So you might want to also ask questions like, who do you admire and why? You know, what is the thing that you're most proud of? What was the best thing about your week last week? And that will give you a bit of a picture of what that person is, you know, who they are. So I'll pre-qualify them, ask them a few questions, and then if you feel like there is something, there are things in common. He's saying, look, I'm really wanting to meet like-minded women, and I would like to have a relationship. Then arrange a time to chat online like this. Definitely, it's really important to have strong boundaries around it. So let him know that you are happy to chat for about, you know, maybe let's jump online and have a chat around 20 minutes, half an hour. I would cap it at that half an hour time frame. It just means that you're not going to go in too soon. You're not going to share your whole life story. You're not going to have to spend too much time with someone that you might not end up wanting to chat with again. So just let them know that you know, how does 5 o'clock work? I'll have about half an hour. Like manage their expectations as well and set it up in that very clear, you know, in that clear way.
So, okay, love that. So you're suggesting to replace the face-to-face date when you would get to that stage with a video date instead. Do you see there's any value in inserting a step for those women that maybe aren't that familiar with the technology, or maybe that confident about how they're coming across? And we'll get to that, because I know you've got some great tips about, you know, presenting and coming across as really confident on the call. Is there any value, do you think, in having like a phone conversation, just a voice conversation in the interim?
Definitely. I think that's a great idea. Again, some of the people I talk to don't necessarily want to give out their number, so there's sometimes a bit of a thing around that. But I think to have a quick phone call, again, it's a way to pre-qualify if you actually do feel comfortable to get on a video call with someone. Absolutely, it's a great stepping stone as well.
You mentioned WhatsApp video, FaceTime and Zoom. They're the programs that you would recommend? Yes,
or Skype. Skype is still works quite well, and on Skype you can block people. So if for some reason it wasn't a positive experience, or that you can block someone. With Zoom you can create a unique link, so it's not your usual personal link, like a unique meeting link. So there's an advantage on Zoom, and on WhatsApp too. I believe you can block someone as well, but this is just, worst case scenario. In regards to the how to set it up, and you really think of this is the first date, so you still want to create a nice atmosphere. And I did a training call the other day actually with one of my male friends, and he had this beautiful red background. He had a glass of wine, he dressed up, he made that effort to, like how he would have turned up on a normal date. So just be aware that this is more, maybe more so for the guys, but some guys are not so aware of the visuals. And for the women, really wear something that you would usually wear on a first date. And be aware of maybe the lighting as well. Natural light is always really good. If it's in the evening, you can always just have one of the freestanding lamps facing you, so there's a nice bright, a crisp light. That's always a good thing to consider as well.
Great tips. And I often find that setting up a tablet or a computer for that video call is a much better idea than trying to conduct it on your phone like this, where you're constantly having to hold it and making sure it's in the right position. You can relax and actually pretend you are actually sitting across from someone on a date. So I find it's much better to spend the time to get yourself set up first, rather than just taking a video call on your phone.
That's a really good point too. And you made a good point with sitting down, or you'll be able to use your body language. So for this purpose, we're quite close. So I would say for a date video call, you'd probably want to be a little bit further back and be able to sit back into your sofa chair, or just to have that relaxed, to really set it up so you could actually again, you're not going to sort of sit on a ideally you're not going to be at your office or anything like that. So choose your most comfortable piece of furniture, and then you can lean back a little bit. You'll be able to move forwards and use your body language to communicate, whether you feel that connection with someone or not, or hopefully you do. And really use that visual to your advantage.
Now, we know men are very visual, and some people are also able to really come across as confident and still have that same magnetism that they might have in person, as they can, and that they can convey that over a video call. Do you have any tips for how we might be able to have that same level of connection and magnetism on a call?
I think generally speaking, I would say probably most extroverts have probably a bit more of a natural thing with that, just being able to talk and be their normal self. I think one thing that could help is, before you do that video call, if you can actually talk to a friend that you really, someone who you just know that they love you so much, and they love and respect you, to have a chat with them maybe first, just to get into that zone of feeling really connected, feeling really cozy and emotionally open. Another thing I would say, you could actually speak out your intention before you talk to that person, to really verbalize your talk about why you're really wanting a relationship right now, and just sort of saying that out loud, or reading your relationship goal statements if you have them, and just really get into that zone of like, I'm open now to meet a like-minded partner. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I am open to connect with this man and see whether there's something there or not. So even just, I've given you some examples, just to speak it out loud, maybe close your eyes, do some humming, deep breathing, get into, again, it's all about that embodiment, maybe do some dancing before, or some just a few yoga poses that you like to really get into your body and feel that sense of connection with yourself and with that relationship goal of yours.
I think it's really tricky for us to know ourselves how we come across. When you look at other people, some people come across as, super fun and engaging, but then if that goes a bit too far, they also come across as nervous and unsettled and excited. But then the opposite extreme of that is a bit sort of too lower energy and uninteresting. And I've seen people do different things prior to getting on calls. Some people will actually meditate and, bring themselves back to a really beautiful centered place. And some people will put on high energy music and, jump around and get themselves into a really fun, happy place. So my question is, how do we know which one's the right one for us?
Great question. And you touch on a really important point. I feel like the more authentic we can be with how we come across, the more magnetic we are. So my way of talking to a potential partner, my way of flirting is going to be totally different to yours. So it's really important to own that. So if you're more of an introvert or slightly more reserved, you don't want to do the push-ups and crazy dance before, because that's not your thing, that's not your vibe. So think of something that where you do feel like you're in your zone. For me, dancing to a song that really creates me to my passion, like that's the right thing for me. Like dance is really important to me. So, but for someone else, it might be the meditation or looking at some photos of, nature, going for a walk in nature. So it could be very different.
Yeah. And that really puts it as a sort of a no risk opportunity that we have right now. We're not even meeting up with anyone. So just connecting with them over a call if the vibe doesn't feel right.
Yeah, so in that way, again, it's a great opportunity. You didn't leave maybe you put on some makeup, you put on a dress that you didn't wear before, but you didn't leave your house, you didn't spend any time in traffic, you didn't spend any money on food or so it's lower risk. So that's a real positive.
Would you recommend sort of making it fun and having some kind of little theme or novel sort of fun thing depending on what you've found that you connect over?
It's a great idea. I mean, it's not something I've thought about much with this with the video calls, but you can definitely, I think for the second date, maybe the first date, there's no need, because you don't know if this person is really someone you want to chat with for more than 5 minutes. So, but for the second date, I would say, you could ask them to have their favorite drink there, have their favorite fruit there, share their favorite book. Or even it's a good idea with the theme, maybe a bit of a dress, a theme like you would have at a party potentially. But yeah, sharing something personal, bringing something, reading a few lines out of your favorite book, sharing some photos, introducing a pet, things like that can definitely be, you can make it playful. But yeah, that's probably a whole other conversation, and a whole other training. I like the thought of that.
There's some great ideas that you've just shared there, and it does get you thinking that you could get really creative with this. I mean, it's really quite new, but to all of us in terms of connecting with someone new this way.
And on that note, also being prepared with some interesting questions. There's for the women who'd like to check it out, there's a great article, 36 questions that lead to love. So being prepared with some, and for the men, of course, as well, being prepared with some interesting questions. And, like I had a few questions here, no one saw them, so you can have them sort of next to your screen. That can also give you a bit more confidence and know that you'll be able to ask some really interesting questions.
Absolutely. And I think from memory, one of the keys to the success of those 36 questions was the fact that the questions went progressively deeper. So they didn't dive too deep into too personal at the beginning. They just sort of gradually got deeper and more personal as they went through. So I think for anyone that's formulating some questions, that's perhaps an idea to keep in mind.
Maybe have 3 sections of the sort of the intro questions, and then the medium ones, and then if it goes really well, go into the deeper ones at the end. I love that.
Yeah, definitely. Do you have any other advice as far as getting the most out of video dating?
I think just one more important thing, to really listen and give the guy the opportunity to really share something that he wants to share. And I think we often tend to jump ahead and think of another question to ask, but we're not, there's such a skill to learn, to really be present and to really listen. And instead of asking it the next question, maybe sometimes also about like, oh, tell me more, nearly like what us coaches would do. Tell me more about that. What is it about that you really like? Just asking more questions around the one theme. So I think less is more, rather than like jumping over all like, this and that and traveling and interest, like really just exploring something that is meaningful to that person and giving them that gift of really being present and engaged would be, I think that's super important.
And just one last tip for the audience. What do you think really makes a difference? If we think of it from the male's perspective, he's sitting on the other end of the call and he gets off and he thinks, that went really well. She was really cool. I'm interested in doing that again, versus maybe not. What would you say would be one thing that women can do to hack into that?
That's a big question, but the short answer with my methodology would be that he got a taste of the different aspects of femininity. So one is the sexual confidence. So he got a taste of that, a bit of the sexual energy, a bit of flirtatiousness. He also got a taste of emotional vulnerability, a bit of openness. He also got a taste of strong boundaries and high standards around like, okay, I've got that much time and I'm going to stick to that, rather than like just losing yourself in it. They would be the main thing. So I feel like if a guy gets a taste of those different energies, and he is curious to find out more, you didn't share everything about you in that first date, which you wouldn't in half an hour, that will set it up really nicely.
Very keen to find out more. I know you have a brilliant method that you teach your clients about archetypes and how to really go deeper on what you've just introduced us to. Can you tell us about the masterclass that you're going to be sharing free for all of our audience?
Yes, perfect leadway now into that, because in the masterclass I go into the 3 key aspects, what I call them archetypes of feminine energy, and why they're so important. I also go into the strategy part a little bit. So I talk about the 5 steps that I use with my clients in order to fast track your relationship goal, because I know as driven, successful women, we are on a mission, and we want to attract someone sooner rather than later, once we've made that decision that we really want it. So
the link to access Camille's free masterclass is below the video today, and she also has a beautiful meditation for you to experience. So make sure you get yourself set up and enjoy that either tonight or tomorrow as well. Thank you so much for joining us, Camille. Is there anything you'd like to share with our audience before we finish up?
The last thing I would like to say is you totally deserve an amazing relationship where you feel that deep connection, you're attracted, you feel that sexual connection, and you really can have the cake and eat it too. You don't need to choose either having this thriving business or career, or having a relationship and not having this amazing life that you've created. It's time to have the cake and eat it too.
So very true. Thank you so much, Camille, and thanks everyone for joining us. We'll see you again for tomorrow's Love Transformation Cast. Bye for now.